Friday, we love to interview artists that are connected with the National Parks Arts Foundation. The National Parks Arts Foundation is an incredible organization. It's a nonprofit that artists apply to go in an artist-in-residency in a national park all over the place. Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, Gettysburg National Military Park, Chaco Canyon in northern New Mexico, Death Valley. I mean, these places are extraordinary, and it's an extraordinary program. And to be an artist in residence for a full month in these secluded, beautiful places that we're so proud of having them in our country is really quite an honor. And today, as we do every first Friday, we get to chat with artists, and they're either on their way or there. And today, we welcome South Florida artists Carl-Stoveland and Shannon-Torrence. Both of them are going to Loggerhead Key in Dry-Tortugas-National-Park this September. Hopefully, no windy things happen out there, so they can go first thing, see the turtles. But they really kind of, there's a story here because they went on a full-blown campaign to have this residency. And when you see their work, if you haven't already, you'll understand why they've got the residency. Carl is an amazing photographer. He's also a painter, a filmmaker. And Shannon is a painter, a poet, a mixed media artist. Both of them, I call them the light masters because they really understand light. And it's just when you look at it, you realize how many layers Mother Nature provides us and the beauty of it. So anyway, go to their website, Flying-Tortuga-Brothers.com. They also have a GoFundMe page. We'll talk about that a little bit down the road here, but you can get that right off of our page here on blogtalkradio.com. And also, if you're into the arts, go check out nationalparksartsfoundation.org. But welcome, Carl. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks, Lisa and Nancy.
Hey, good to have you on the show. And hi, Shannon. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, we're happy to have you guys, too, because you guys are podcasters as well. I heard Tanya Ortega is going to be on your show from the National Parks Arts Foundation.
Yeah, that's coming up soon.
Oh, awesome. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, she's fun. She's a great guest. She's fantastic. She is just one of the coolest people on the planet.
We had a long chat with her before we got the residency. She called us to check in. She wanted to know who we were, and she'd been following us since we started the march towards the residency last year, and we had a great conversation. And we're looking forward to putting that on the air and doing a podcast with her. So a lot of that will get repeated, but it'll be a lot of fun to have our listeners, because we're trying with the podcast to be educational about residencies and get the word out about them. So I think it's a perfect pairing to have Tanya on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such a unique residency, and I think, it's, to me, I mean, imagine just you're off the grid. You're going off the grid for a full month. And, it's, like we always have that conversation with chefs. What's your last meal on the island and what music are you taking? And you guys literally get to go do that. So what's your last meal before you go? Yeah. When you think about that, going out there for a whole month.
Yeah. I think we'll be in Key West the night before. So I'm imagining myself having stone crabs, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm probably going to have blackened dolphin.
Oh, wow.
Hot fritters, blackened dolphin.
Wow. So you're going to have seafood, and then you're going to see seafood. And so I was reading that you like to fish. Is that, Shannon, that's you who likes to fish, and you're into nature, and you understand being a Boy Scout out there in the wilderness.
Yes. I actually just finished going through my fishing gear for the trip, and packed a big Rubbermaid container with some fishing gear. But yes, I'm hoping to fish every morning. It seems to be the best time to fish, especially here where we live. And, try to catch a lot of our protein so that we eat off the land for a bit.
That's kind of a question we always talk about with people going to Dry-Tortugas. What did you do food-wise? And we had Beth and Haley on the show last month, and they seem to really go on this health kick. I'm sorry, but I would take wine. Is wine or cocktails involved in taking the taking over of food?
Yeah, Carl has an idea that we're going to take a couple of bottles of rum or some kind of alcohol, but we will mark the bottles so that we can only drink so much per day.
There it is. Bill, you got to
think it has to be rum. It has to be rum because you're on the island.
Yeah,
pirates are there.
Pirate grog. Yeah.
There we go. That's what we'll do.
Okay, there. Yeah. Well, if we have time, I'm going to play a song from the Cravens band in Lake Worth. They're from Lake Worth, good friends of ours, and we did a cocktail contest with them. Because when they came on the show, they're the Cravens, and everything's the dark birds and the ravens and everything. And I'm like, you need a Craven Raven cocktail. And somehow we ended up with this big contest. There's a bird festival, and Yuma has it. It's their official drink, so now they have theirs. And the winner used rum. Lisa Getz, now she's become friends of ours, and we actually met her later. Made it with rum, and so just so you know, there's a rum cocktail that I think you should take with you because it's from your area.
Craven Raven.
That's right.
I'll send you the recipe, but. So let's talk a little bit about the art, your art, because I was talking about the light. Let's start with you, Shannon. I mean, this is something that you've kind of just kept developing in, and you've done like painting. You painted houses, and then you moved into the landscape, or?
Yeah. So when I got out of the Navy, I worked in art galleries on Worth Avenue in Palm Beach.
Okay.
And sort of the bottom of the art market started to fall apart in like 91, 92. So believe it or not, my mother gave me the idea of applying for a job as an apprentice painter. And the union was still in Florida at the time. So I applied for a job as an apprentice painter. And I went to work for a company that had been working on the island of Palm Beach since the 1920s. They were the oldest painting company on the island. And they did faux finishing and murals, specialty work. So I did my apprenticeship there and basically learned from guys who they're not around anymore, but old timers that would mix their own colors for the glazes and the specialty finishes from powder, not even like a liquid universal tint.
Wow.
So learning from those artisans was that was really a big foothold. And then working in the galleries really helped my knowledge of art history.
And your composition is so cool too. I was looking as a when you just I don't paint, but I do a lot of photography for what we do in the magazine. It's not artsy and everything, but looking at your composition gave me a lesson. I was like, oh, this is a really cool way of looking at things and how you capture your light. Do you think the light part of it comes from? I mean, because when you do the ocean and even forest, light is so it moves. It's always moving, and the way you've captured it to me is just amazing. Do you think it comes from the studying that you did do and learning the different glazes to understand light?
I use a lot of those techniques, layering techniques when I paint, which the old masters called scumbling. I use a lot of that, but I love that you've picked up on that. So I do want to capture the movement of palm fronds. Not just a static palm frond, but something that's listening, that's moving, so that the viewer sees it like it's actually happening in front of them instead of just like a quick freeze of a moment, so that it looks like it's still moving.
Yeah, that's cool.
You feel like you're right there, which is what I love in paintings. There's got to be something that pulled you in. And so you feel like you're there, and so to
Thank
me,
you so much.
Yeah, that's a success for painting. If the viewer feels I'm there.
And Carl,
I've gotten those. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I have gotten comments on social media and from people that have seen my work shows that they could smell the ocean or feel the temperature, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
No, you have that down. You're pulling the person into where you are, and so that's why your paintings are lively, even though they're calm, they're lively.
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you.
The clouds are tactile. You want to play with the clouds, and you feel it, and you know it. And especially if you know the beach, you're like, oh my God, I can't wait to get to the beach. We've been landlocked for 8 years. It feels like
we need out.
We haven't seen the ocean in I think since. We haven't been to the beach for 5 or 6 years, which is not normal, and it's not normal.
Wow.
It's not. And I'm looking at your work, and I'm like, I'm using it as a screensaver because I want to go so bad. And
Carl,
it's there.
Carl and I both we really do appreciate the light, and where we live has amazing light.
Carl, I wanted to ask you about your photo of Loose Screw Swamp, and I want to go there badly now.
Yeah.
But I was even looking at, I don't know if they're bromeliads, they're air ferns, air plants on in the swamp, and the light. God, it's amazing.
What it is Clyde Butcher, the Ansel Adams of the Everglades, if you will, photographer who goes out with a 12 by 20 inch field camera and goes out into the swamp. He bought back in the 70s what was an old orchid farm in the swamp and has over time let it return to its natural state and has had worked with people to remove the invasive plants that were in there. And I moved here to Florida 4 years ago, and it was a great opportunity for my wife, and I was excited for her. But I thought, I'm from New York, upstate New York, and waterfalls and forests are what I was born and bred in. So I was afraid I wasn't going to find anything to shoot. And then friends brought us to Clyde Butcher's gallery out in the Everglades, and I took my first swamp walk with them, and I've probably been in Loose Screw Swamp 6 or 7 times now, and it's one of the best things you can do in summertime in the rainy season. The water is like 90 degrees, the light is beautiful, and it's you think swamp and you think icky, but it's not like that. You're walking on top of a bed of coral. You can see down to the bottom. It's absolutely just one of the most beautiful experiences you could ever have.
Oh my gosh, I've never walked in a swamp. I've been
we need to put that on the list.
I'm doing that. We're going to be in Tampa. There's got to be swamps nearby. We've got to go to the swamp. Seriously.
It's Florida. We got swamps everywhere.
Yeah, we used to live we've lived in the Panhandle area, and we lived Palm Beach side and Port St. Lucie. When we lived in South Africa, and then the first place we landed was Port St. Lucie, and that's where our family lived. And so we, moved there for a while, and, we did a lot of the beach, and then it was the swamp thing. Nancy and I started when we were up in the Panhandle, getting out into those areas. And I mean, we like to go out and hang out with the gators and all the snakes and all that. I know it freaks people out, but there's like this mystery kind of, well, it's like Louisiana's like that for us too, that it's just this mystical, mysterious, like, I don't know, but it's like a whole other sense of enchantment, going out there. But I'd never thought about walking in there.
You get in there and it's like you've gone back in time a million years.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So do you wear like somebody's...
Go ahead, Nancy.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I was just going to ask you, did you feel like you were being watched?
Well, when I go out, especially if I'm going to go out in Big Cypress, I arrange to go with one of Clyde Butcher's guides, and they live and work in those 13 acres, and they know every gator by name.
Oh, wow.
So I feel completely safe because I'm not a huge fan of going out in the swamp with my camera if I'm alone because I can't keep my eye on everything. But when I go out with Scott and the guys, I know that I'm going to be completely protected, that they know what's going on. They know where they like to hang out. So I don't have to think about that part. So definitely a guided tour is definitely the way to, a guided swamp walk is one of the best ways to do it.
Good idea.
That's cool. So how did you both meet? Carl, have you known Shannon for a while, or ever since you got to Lake Worth?
So let's see, we applied for the residency last year, about 17 months ago, and we actually became friends just before that.
Oh, wow.
I was doing a project called I Am Lake Worth where I photographed people in town and got a quote from them about what made Lake Worth special and put it all together as a big show at the town owns a gallery. And we met because I had heard about him painting at the beach, and he had this whole process. He loads up his easel and everything onto an old bike and rides up to the beach and paints there for the day, and I wanted to capture this guy. So that's how we met. I approached him one night. I saw him in town. We'd become Facebook friends already. And so I said, would you want to be part of this project? And that led to me interviewing him for what was one of the first podcast episodes of the I Am Lake Worth. And it blossomed from there. And then Shannon's got a story about how that all kind of took off from there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw some of Carl's work the first work I saw of Carl's was at that show. And then, of course, I dug deeper. And when I saw his photographs, you know, I immediately thought of Ansel Adams and Clyde Butcher. And I had known about Clyde since the early 90s. And I thought, wow. And I had no idea that Carl had already met Clyde and was hiking in their swamps. So me being a painter, he being a photographer, him painting as well, we had a natural chemistry and we just became close friends.
That's cool. That's really cool. And I think going off on an island, you guys are going to become really close friends, you know, on an island together. You know, I think it's so epic what you're doing. And I love that. I remember when I saw Flying-Tortuga-Brothers, I got the giggles. We used to have a band back in our San Diego days. And after that band, when the band panned out, I started gigging around with a couple of guys and really old school, good blues musicians, man. And both of them were in Moby Grape, the Flying Burrito Brothers, and also Canned Heat. And so when I saw that, I'm like, dude, that's it. You know, we should be playing that music for you too. So I love that. I was just like, okay, these guys are cool. If you got that, it's a cool name. You know, Flying-Tortuga-Brothers, that's the best name. So who came up with that one? Especially because of Tortuga. I mean, come on, that's great.
That's all Carl. It has a real hippie flair, which I love. It does have that Canned Heat going up the country feel to me.
Yeah. I love that.
That's all Carl.
I know I started. Yeah, you guys are so good on Instagram, on social media. Everyone, you got to follow them, right? And then you've got to follow them individually too. So you can go to flyingtortugabrothers.com. All their links are there. But also go on Facebook and Instagram under Flying Tortuga Brothers. But also to take a look at their work, go to Carl-Stoveland and also go to Titlecroft Studio, and that's for Shannon. So it's Carl-Stoveland and Titlecroft Studio on Instagram to keep up with them. Yeah, that's how I first found out about you guys, I think, was Instagram. And, you know, you're doing the podcast and everything, which is great. And that's on Podbean, everybody. Are you thinking of doing podcasts and recording podcasts with the park rangers when you're out there?
So what we've talked about is we're going to go dark while we're there, obviously, because we don't have the connectivity. And we had talked a little bit at first about maybe doing some pre-recorded shows to drop while we're away. We've decided, no, we want our fans to experience the blackout period the same way we do. So we're going to record some rangers, and we're going to record some podcasts of ourselves, and then that'll get dished out after we get home.
And probably fed into the documentary that we're doing.
Exactly, yeah. Some of the footage some of the recording that we do, because we want to do nighttime kind of chats that we're going to make sure we bring into the documentary, because really that's, you know, we're going to get that chance to talk about the isolation and the effects of it, and not just the pictures of us working. We're going to weave a whole narrative together, and that will actually end up as being, you know, chopped together for a podcast, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, you've got your video. Go ahead, Nancy.
Do you feel like you're going on Survivor?
We're trying not to look at it that way. I think because they only give one of these residencies out a year, and just to a pair of artists. The shtick thing isn't going to be part of our documentary, I don't think. I think it's going to be pretty serious. There will be some lighthearted moments, but it'll be pretty serious about nature and the creative process, the isolation, being away from your family, and that sort of human experience creating at that base level.
And yeah, because you guys aren't actually going to be like, it's not like two plein air painters side by side. There's going to be, you're both doing your own thing too, right? So you've got this as a communal, the podcast, the video part, which you've done some videos already, and then going off on your own, right? So it's kind of, this is talk about multimedia. It's awesome. This is like mixed media and multimedia. You just, why box anything in, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, we've been talking about this, and I'm trying to find a way to describe it that is true to what we're doing. and who we are, and that it's almost like 3 residencies. You know, Shannon is going to paint his butt off while he's there, and I'll be doing the photography. We'll come together for the video. Those are the 3 legs of the triangle. You know, that's what's going to work. My painting is, you know, I'm going to journal a little bit and do a little watercolor, but that's mostly for me and for a future project. But we're trying to do definitely to build this body of work and live the experience, and then make sure we carve out time for each other for the documentary. Because in the original application from the year before, when we didn't win, which was the impetus for us to knock their socks off this year, was we talked about making a documentary, but I didn't really, in the application, I didn't form it. I didn't talk about how we were going to use it as a social vehicle and a way to talk about nature and tie it all together. And I think that's when everything started to click.
Yeah, and to your point about light from the beginning of the show, so we've actually been discussing the island's pretty small, as you know, that we both find vantage points because we have different eyes that each of us love. So Carl will be photographing the same thing that I'm painting. So we're hoping that out of this, we could do a show of what he has seen, the same thing I've seen, but side by side painting and photography married sort of together. His next to mine of the same view, kind of thing.
Do you? Because I know you also write poetry, which I do too, and write music and songs and things. Songwriter. And Nancy and I, for years, have talked. And now she's not painting; she's making videos and doing what we're doing with the magazine. But when she, she's a wildlife artist primarily, and we've always talked about. And now she wants to paint rock musicians. So there you go. Flying burritos could really happen.
It's still nature.
It is. She's just like, there's a wildness. It's like if you go from animals, she's like, if it's going to be people, it'll have to be musicians, and because they're fun to photograph too, man. That's one of my favorite things is photographing musicians. But we always talked about.
It's one of those things that I'm sorry. It's one of those things that I love to do. Obviously now with COVID, we're shut down on that with the events, but there every other Sunday in West Palm there was a blues group that got together and did an open jam, and I became their semi-official and official photographer, and I would go every week and did a lot of drawings and paintings off of the photographs. Because musicians are the best things to photograph because they're not aware of you taking their picture at all. They're thinking about hitting their note and getting it right and being in the music. I love when you can get people in unguarded moments, and musicians are just easy prey for that.
Exactly. That's true, because they're so occupied with their music. I like it when they kind of dance around and swing their hair around and go crazy. Like when they're really, you got to wait for the third song, man.
I know.
Absolutely, they got to be warmed up and loose.
Yeah. It's a whole thing. We did the Greeley Blues Jam last year, and I couldn't believe the footage. We still have to make a video of that because it's like we got Larkin and Poe and Mr. Sip. It was just Watermelon Slim. Everybody was on that stage, and it was like wow. And Shawa, here they come out with their big feathers and everything, and you're just like wow, because it is wild. It's like wildlife. It is absolutely primal to the core, because if the musicians really, they're in that zone, and there's that's it. They're in that zone, and it's so cool to get. But I was going to go back to I was going to write lyrics or poetry that would go with her paintings. We always had this thing, and then if we did an art show, there would be we'd play the music, but some of the words would be with it. And we've never done it. But I was just wondering if you're going to do poetry that goes with what you're doing.
Well, I think that might be a little bit my fault. Shannon's an amazing poet, but he wasn't planning on doing a lot of that. That's really for him. He's done it on the podcast with me and recorded it, but he's really locked in on the painting. So I might have gotten ahead of him on that, and that's one of the things about the residency too, is that you spend 15 months like we did getting the residency,
Mm-hmm.
and everything is about getting it. Then when we got it, we had to figure out how to work together smoothly, and make sure that I was thinking about what he was thinking about, and vice versa. So that's that was an interesting thing. I did want to bring up that Beth and Haley that you interviewed last month, they did do that. Haley does the poetry and Beth paints.
Mm-hmm.
And they did even though it was a virtual show because of what happened, they did a show of pieces that were the painting and the poem that she felt when they were together.
Oh, that poem is amazing. Her poetry is incredible, and they're both amazing. I want to tell everybody, if you go to nationalparktraveling.com, the summer issue of Parks and Travel magazine is out, and it features them and their interview with us, but also the poem and the art that Carl's talking about that we featured. And you guys are going to be in our magazine, too. We can't wait. And we can't wait. Like, this is the coolest thing is we get to play before and after with you guys, and who knows? Maybe we'll be in Florida when you come out. I don't know, but it'll be cool. Actually, we will be in Florida in September, and we'll be back in the swamps of the Panhandle.
Yay!
And but I was going to say it's really interesting because we've done a lot of shows about becoming an artist in residence, and we've done ones where artists have had multiple residencies through NPAF, National Parks Arts Foundation, and they've all said, if you don't get it the first time, keep applying. Don't, And I know some artists are going to get upset, but there is this whole, it is just one of those things that if you get turned down, don't take it personally, really. It's kind of, it could just be who you were applying with or what, I don't know. It's just, and it's all these other people all deciding on their own and coming together with one thing. So, it's juried, so it's not really a personal thing, right? Yeah, and you guys just said, okay, we're going to try again, which I love, and I think that's one of the coolest stories, and you've really created a social media following showing people about artists in residency. Like you said at the beginning, it's one of your goals with what you do is to, get that out there, because I don't think a lot of artists realize this kind of opportunity exists. I think it's, or sometimes they don't have a whole month to go off or whatever. Everyone's got a different thing, but I think what you're doing is really, really awesome to let people understand it, be prepared for it once you, get out there and do it. So it'll be really cool to chat with you when you come back. But going second for the second round, what was that like? Going, hey, okay, we didn't get it, and now going, okay, but we're going to keep going.
I think we gave ourselves about a weekend to wallow in it.
We did wallow a bit.
Yeah. I mean, how can you not, right?
Well, the thing is that we, Shannon found the residency and sent it to me, like we said, a couple of months after we really, really became friends. And we applied, but it was like 2 days before the deadline was due. He got sick that week, so it was completely hectic what we put together, and we still were absolutely certain we were going to win. We just felt like this is the location we have to do, and we were going to do it, and we were going to win. We did turn out to be finalists last year. We didn't know that for sure, but we did find that out. And basically after a weekend of, being blue about it, although we're in South Florida, so we were probably hanging out at my pool. It wasn't that bad. But then we had the idea of putting together the persona of the Flying-Tortuga-Brothers and building
the elements,
the presence around it, and doing it for an entire year so that we could really make it robust and build it into the documentary. So win, lose, or draw, even if we didn't get it, we wanted to have that body of work to pull from.
I'm so excited about you guys going. We are jealous. I can't help that.
Yes.
But it's not a good, quality.
I'd like to find a way to be on the island and not have anybody know, so you can watch the artists create and just spy on them.
Geez, Nancy, you're weird. It's a webcam.
I think stuff.
Oh, it's cool.
Stuff like that may find its way into the footage because, on top of the video cameras that I normally use, like my Canon 5D and my iPhone actually will get some use pressed into service. But we're each going to have GoPros, and you never know. You can just stick those on a stand and let them run, and you're going to get to see some real moments of the artist at work.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And time lapses. I mean, because also looking at the sunrises and sunsets out there are going to be amazing, and just even the ocean. Watching the tides coming in and out. And that talking about gear. Let's talk about what you're taking and what you need. You've got a GoFundMe page, so let's hear what people can be part of that. Tell us what you're needing and what you have now.
Yeah, so we each are going to get a GoPro Hero 8 and some of the bits and bobs that go with it. But there's a stipend that comes with this residency, which is awesome. But by the time you pay for the required insurance, and they recommend you having a sat phone, and the rental for a month and the minutes on a sat phone runs you about $400. And before you know it, the stipend's completely eaten up. You add a month's worth of food into that, and some of the gear we're going to need for the movie. So
that's basically the reason. It's to cover the extras that we will incur. Just so that we can do it properly. I mean, the right equipment is going to make all the difference for the documentary. So that's basically what that's for.
I'm glad to hear about the video part with the Canon. That's what I do use. And I always thought, really, can cameras really do video and still? And they really can. At the beginning, I was like, no way. But they really can. They're good.
There's
They're
absolutely
good.
no doubt that a DSLR can handle the video work. You have to get the microphone off camera. That's really the thing. The sound part of them is terrible. So you either have to record it separately and sync it back together, or have a good shotgun mic mounted to it, depending on what you're doing.
Yeah, that's what I have is a shotgun mounted on. And sometimes if you don't get your mic on tight, it don't work at all. It's like all of a sudden it's like a ghost comes through and makes its own sounds and carries on. So I had to learn that real fast. I've had some really interesting experiences in the beginning when I first got it, but the GoPro's got to be cool. We were talking about doing that even just to have it attached on the car when we're doing crazy mountain passes in Colorado. Like, so everybody else can, have white knuckle like what I do, and Nancy's always on the one on the edge,
Yeah,
so,
I'm like, dude, could you move over a little?
I know. Just stop
it. Tires are not supposed to be on the edge.
I can't help it on some of them. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is.
Well,
but this
I've been told.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I've been told for artists we have to live on that spot on the edge of the mountain where you've got two wheels off, or you're living on the edge of your eyeballs.
Yeah, exactly. Well, national parks provide that. We were just in Colorado National Monument, and there's an artist point. And you are literally hanging on. It's like the Grand Canyon of Colorado. I mean, it is, in the Colorado Plateau, but I'm not good with heights. I can't wait to get to the flatland now. I love Colorado. Make no mistake, everyone. I'm not knocking Colorado. I absolutely love this, one of my favorite states. But man, I tell you what, those mountain passes, and then those, if you're going to go to the Colorado National Monument, you need to get out of the car, you need to walk, and you need to go on those overpasses, hang over, like the Black Canyon of Gunnison. Yeah. You've got to do it no matter how scared you are. And I learned I'm a lot better, but I tell you, I almost gave cookies down there. Like, here, cookies for everybody just now. Because, so really, I don't know, this island thing is sounding much better to me.
But it's really odd. Every time you go to one of those really scary places and you make yourself do it, somehow the wind comes up the closer you get to the edge.
Yep.
The windier it gets. And you're like, what's up with the wind all the time?
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. You see that in movies too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, somebody trying to push me off or what?
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Can I just mention about the isolation of this residency?
Yeah, because you guys you had to do exams, like tests on that. So I want to touch on that too. When you're doing the isolation, this is a big deal. Like, this is not. So sorry, didn't want to interrupt, but yeah, that is a big deal.
Yeah, the FEMA things those were pretty intense tests. I don't think I'll ever use it after this again, but I did joke with my wife about, I think there have been heads of FEMA that couldn't have passed these tests,
Oh my God. Great.
Honestly. But going to the isolation of the island is like the biggest attraction for me, and it's what drew me to this residency in particular, because there's not other artists there except for Carl, and there's very little human interaction. And it makes me think about how artists strive for that kind of environment in order to create with some solitude. So if you think of Ansel Adams going into Yosemite, or Georgia O'Keeffe going out to Ghost Ranch in Abiquiu, New Mexico, or Jack Kerouac, he was a fire lookout in the summer of '63. I didn't know if you guys knew that. But he came away from the experience feeling like it was a disaster. He didn't get anything out of it, but the notebooks that he wrote in those 63 days ended up becoming part of 2 books a couple of years down the road. So
interesting enough.
I think the isolation for me is gonna bring something out in Carl and I that we don't even know is coming, which is gonna be beautiful.
I know about isolation. Oh, sorry. It's a bummer that we're not all in one room, right? Sorry. Go ahead, Carl.
I was just going to say it's the lure. We're both pretty solitary workers. We do our own thing, and we're kind of used to that. This is taking it to a whole nother level, but it's also what made the idea of the documentary so interesting to me is that we have this foothold to explore and talk about this isolation and this taking 2 artists who are connected to social media in a big way and pulling the rug out from underneath them and not giving them any instant support or instant validation of their work and the community that we've built with our social media. So it's going to be an interesting thing to observe. I'm really looking forward to finding out what happens. And we also had one of our guests was Kelly Clark from the National Park Service. And she had worked out on Dry-Tortugas for
many years, right?
14 years, I think. But she talked about the experience of the night sky there and the silence of the island, that it's holy and it can really, really get to you in a really profound way. So, we're looking forward to being able to experience that.
I think it's really kind of cool because I've been in a situation painting with other people, plein air painting, and they all go out in the wilderness or somewhere, and they all set up their easels and they all start to paint. And I've watched this, and it's really interesting. I almost forgot to paint because I was so busy watching what the artists were doing. Because they all set up, and then they start looking at each other's like, what kind of paints do you have? And they start looking
I've done that
over
before.
this.
You do feel lost.
Yeah, and then as people painted, I think it was 15 minutes in, they start walking around looking at, well, what have you painted? How come you haven't started yet? It was like a
it's like funny. A gathering.
Yeah. So and then I started to understand more about why artists like to work alone, so they can actually force themselves to, that big white canvas with nothing on it, and a lot of people have trouble just putting that first stroke, and that kind of thing. Maybe they're a writer and they're like, oh, I just can't think of any good words right now, that sort of thing. But when there's a group together, this little competition thing starts, and it's interesting. It's like watching a little tribe.
It's not very flattering, I don't think. I think Carlina would be like Van Gogh and Gauguin, where they painted together for a while, but
at least in the beginning, it's not going to be the end of the relationship.
Yeah.
No. There's places like Weir Farm, where artists came together and painted in places. There's all these retreats. We're going in Cane River National Heritage Area in Louisiana. There's Melrose Plantation. All these artists came together over the years, and writers, and they didn't leave. They stayed there for like 10 years, just working and painting and writing, and everybody had their own thing. And it's interesting because they had their own place. It's a very cool. I think it's neat to have artists together, and I think that's going to be an interesting I can't wait to hear this experience because, you know, you go out, you're in the same place, but you're doing different things. To have each of your perspectives, that's going to be so amazing. You know, it's like with Beth and Haley being able to, you know, like Matt and Julie Chase Daniel, they look at their work together and separate, and it's fascinating to me how everyone has a different take on it. You've done all these tests. Now you're ready to roll. GoFundMe, everybody, you got to go to that page and go help if you can. Do people get things? Do they get their recognition in your documentary and the credits or something when they get there?
There will absolutely be a page set aside for people who donated. Absolutely in the rolling credits at the end. We are going to do some swag as well. We just had a logo created, and we're going to put that up on our website as well. So if somebody wants to, you know, donate a little bit and get a trinket, there's a way to do that. That's going to be rolling out next week.
Oh, cool.
Excellent. Yeah. We're very, very excited for you. And the isolation part, it's going to be interesting on that too, because Nancy and I have lived in isolation. It sounds weird. That's why we're so loud and chatty. But in Kenya, I mean, we really were out in the boonies. And then when you go into civilization, everybody's really loud. Yeah, everyone's real, and we find that too, because when we do our work and even the magazine and stuff, all of a sudden you go somewhere and everyone is really loud, and they're really just being normal, but they're really loud, and you'll find everybody gets really close to you that you're not used to. You know?
Yeah, it's like stand back.
Aren't we all kind of going through that a little bit with the COVID too? I mean, I was a little bit worried when we put the application in because our whole theme was isolation. I'm like, well, that's not going to work because we're all living in the isolation at the moment. But I think it's actually going to add an extra flavor to what we're doing to be able to compare and contrast that a little bit.
I think it's great, and I hope the COVID thing doesn't put any damper on this for you guys. So we're keeping fingers and paintbrushes crossed, and that everything goes smoothly. That hurricanes, COVIDs, any of that stuff stays away, so that you'll make it through and have a good full month out on the island. So because things are weird traveling, even for us. Every time we make a travel plan, we have to turn around. Not easy. So we wish you all the best on this. We can't wait to hear from you when you come back. So really have a good time, be safe, and enjoy the isolation of the island and your teaspoon of rum every night.
Yes.
Thanks so much. We're looking forward to talking to you when we get back.
Thank you.
Thank you
so
guys
much.
have a wonderful
we'll shine.
time. Yeah, right. You know, next time we'll do it in person, hopefully, depending. And we'll have to do it at a distance, right? Everybody, again, the website for the National Parks Arts Foundation is nationalparksartsfoundation.org. Also, keep up with the Flying-Tortuga-Brothers at flying-tortuga-brothers.com. You can also access their podcast through there, but it's also on podbean.com. Also, Facebook, Instagram, just type in Flying Tortuga Brothers. They're everywhere. They're flying all around social media with their tortugas. So also keep up with Carl at Carl-Stoveland, and that's on Instagram, and that's Carl with a C, and Shannon-Torrence. You can keep up with him at Titlecroft Studio. So we are going to play that song for you. This is from the Cravens Band. You know, we love those guys over in Lake Worth. And this is called Rain Till We Need It. And it's from their album, actually an EP, Early Bird Special. So check that out and you can keep up with them at cravensongs.com. So thanks so much, guys. You take care.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Lisa and Nancy.
Yeah.
You take care.
And you guys, when you get your rum out, come up with a cocktail that could be called the Flying-Tortuga-Brothers.
Yeah, you need a flying, because, oh my God, we could have a Craven Raven and a Flying Tortuga. Yeah. And we could all open a bar.
There we go.
We can open an art and photography bar. See?
Wouldn't that be fun?
That's the new wave of
the
galleries.
Craven Turtle.
Yeah. Oh my God. I like it. Oh, it's got to still be flying because everything's flying, right? They've got birds and you've got, you got your
flying Craven Turtle. It's
I know.
A flying
I like
Craven Turtle. And it has to have
starting to sound like a pub in jolly old England.
Yeah. I know. Oh, I'm happy with that too. All right, here it is. Rain till we need it. You take care, guys. Bye-bye.
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 stuff gets all twisted when the wind starts to blow. It tears up your eyes and chokes up your throat. The water don't flow this way. The seeds in the garden you planted in May must be dead. Come on, come inside, sit by the window, turn your cards at the sky. Only God knows the secret to Venus and Mars this time. All this time. My mind seems to scatter, no matter how hard I try. The hopes and the dreams that we started can't be lost in a single fight. I'll help you get through these things. We get so tangled up in the smallest of strings every time. Come on now, we're chasing the shadows and we're losing our ground. If time's what it takes, then waiting is what we'll do. 'Cause it ain't gonna rain till we need it. No, it ain't gonna rain till we need it. No, it ain't gonna rain when we feel it. Oh, shut the door. Gonna work out this old dirty floor. Too many blackbirds, too many lies. The dust settled, so have I.